Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third season of the New Era Paranormal podcast. I am JD Curry, and I am joined by my co-host Irene Killowies. Our guest this week is Victoria and Steve from the Astral Lights Paranormal group. The Astral Lights Paranormal is a family team based out of Ontario, Canada. They work with a lot of the popular locations. However, their primary focus is on smaller commercial, residential, and historical locations to help bring lost stories forward. How did you guys get involved with the paranormal field?
Yeah, well, it really started with our daughter. She is now almost 22, but when she was younger, she was able to see spirits. So that it's kind of something that's kind of always been around for us. I mean, it was hard when she was little, but it's just, yeah, it's kind of just been part of our lives, I think, for 20 some odd years.
Yeah, it really has. It started there, and originally it was like, okay, no, she's young, it's all good, right? But the older she got, it never really stopped, and then we kind of, took it for the grain of salt. Okay, it's all good. We just deal with it one thing at a time, and then honestly, we started doing tours,
Public
like public
investigations.
investigations. There's a group in the Ottawa area called Phantoms of Yore. We used to do, and they're a phenomenal group. And we used to do tours with them. And then we started thinking, and the tours they used to run are like more larger properties, more larger event sites. And then we started to get the bug ourselves, I guess, rather than doing a couple hours in a group. Okay, like what if we start our own so we can maximize the time the three of us have on smaller sites, more lesser known places. And like for us, it's a love of not only the stories that the spirits may want to tell, but it's also the history. We don't do this for reactions, so to speak. We do it to kind of give them a voice, so to speak. I'm not sure if you want to.
Yeah. And we concentrate, our goal is to concentrate on smaller, say, event sites or communities, because it's often, they're forgotten. It's concentrated more on, say, the bigger locations, the more notorious locations. But we've done a lot of small venues that are super active, and residentials. We do quite a few residentials. But yeah, we kind of kept it to the smaller
and
venues.
it works for us. It's good.
That's good. I mean, it's not repetitive. You're in a different space pretty regularly than that. People don't investigate a lot or at all.
Yeah.
So when you walk into a new space, do you find, when you go into a smaller location versus a larger location, do you find that it's more responsive because they've not had a spirit, they've not had an investigator in there to talk to them before?
Go ahead.
I think so. I mean, sometimes it can take a little bit for them to warm up and kind of know what's going on, but we usually go to our locations, and we do them a few times. We have a few of our favorites that we go to a couple times a year. The spirits really get to know you and trust you, and I find you have to build a relationship with them.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with us. We don't go in, and the big thing with us, and it's different from, I'm not going to say every group, but a fair bit of groups. We don't provoke. We just don't do that. We kind of go in there with the spirits, kind of like you're introducing yourself to your neighbor for the first time, right? We introduce ourselves. We say we're here with respect. We're just here to help, like, to tell your story. Would you like to talk? And we just kind of open a conversation with them, and it does take a little bit of time. Like, I mean, we do have regular sites we go to, don't get me wrong, because there's no way you can get a story in a single investigation. It takes time. It's no different than writing a book. You do a little bit at a time, and you kind of use the information you get from each investigation. At least this is what we do, and we kind of just build off it. So and it works. And be honest with you, like, especially the residential ones we go to, they appreciate it, not only for the fact that they're confirming that either a bump in the night is something or it's nothing at all, but also that, okay, like, we have an idea who this is now. It's friendly. It's all good. They're happy to be here. I'm happy they're there. All good. Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just a matter of recognizing them. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like if you were in a space and you're, trying to get someone's attention and they're ignoring you, you just want to be seen or
Exactly.
heard.
For
And
sure.
that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah, and it's trying to find some way to relate with them as well. Like there's a space that we go to like at least a couple times a year called Old Town Hall in Delta, Ontario. It's about an hour away from us, in which over a series of investigations, we know that they love their music. So we tend to bring music there. We'll play a little bit old time period, like ragtime, jazz, blues, big band type stuff. And we'll get communication through Estes method or whatever of them. Like I know who's the spirit. I mean, you can probably explain.
John is the cop.
Yeah, but the lady who's dancing.
Connie.
Connie, yeah. And like she used to explain to her the Estes method that she's wearing her dress and she's dancing to the music and things like that. So I mean, it's reaction for all the right reason, not trying to aggravate them to get a reaction, so to speak.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did they do events there where they had dances and things like that, or is it just the time frame?
So that building itself, it's called Old Town Hall in Delta, Ontario, Canada, and it's had 1,000 lives. It was in the First World War, Great War. It was the place where the troops got together to march off. There's really strong reason to believe that it was also a site for quarantine for I'm not sure if can't remember if it was cholera, tuberculosis, things like that back in the turn of between the 18th and 19th century. Also, there was a massive fire there where they had this fire brigade where it was passing bucket to bucket, bucket to bucket. And actually, if you pull down, like it's like a big community center now where you pull down the boards to the stage, you look under, you can see the burnt wood that was still there from the fire. Yeah. And now it's like a community hub. They have events there, dances there, things like that. And
it's not one of those places where you're going to go in and you're going to get like crazy responses right off the bat. Like some days it's going to be a little slower. We've had some, but I mean, it's the story and the history, and you have to be patient. Yeah,
and there was a jail there as well, I should say. There was also a jail there as well. So it's literally been everything.
I'd love to get my hands on the burnt wood and do a little psychometry on that. That'd be crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I can only imagine what you would get out of that. I can't even imagine.
And it maintains that high vibration too. They're still doing things there. So there's a lot of energy still in the space that helps.
Yeah, they still do all their community concerts, like literally everything. It is the hub of the town still, and it's a very small community, so it's a big thing, a big place for them.
Yeah, it's only a community of a few hundred people, right? It's a very very small little hamlet, and they're very proud, as they should be, of this place because it's an amazing spot. The people there that welcome us in are so wonderful, and to do this. And I mean, we're happy to help as they see fit, but it is one of our favorite locations where it's like we're just delighted to be back there every time we go.
That's awesome. What's your favorite story about that location?
I'd say the music.
The music, yeah, I would say the music because I mean, the music was because we never tried that before either. We didn't try to kind of get responses out of music because we were getting little bits of information. And we would play the music as Vicky was under with the Estes, and with the Estes for her, she has the headphones on, the blindfold across. She's not hearing or seeing nothing. And then the spirit we've come to know and love, Nancy, and there was Nancy, and then there was Connie. They used to say, "I'm wearing my dress,"
but we had cat balls like laid all over the ballroom floor, really, and they kept going off as we were playing the music. And so it was great.
If I'm not mistaken, there was a bit of a love story there too.
There was a love story, yeah.
In which we played a little bit slower music, and they were telling us they were dancing to us. And when we're done that,
they were in love.
They were in love. Yeah, and
perfect. We just had Valentine's Day. This is our Valentine's Day.
There you go. There you go. But I mean, it was great because we always ask at the end of our investigation, if we come back again, is there anything we can bring you? Things like that, and they say music every time.
That's awesome.
Bring back the music, and you know what? Happy to. All good.
Love that. That's cool.
Pretty neat. There is a lot of locations that are like that, and music. basically was the theater in the community thing to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's something that everybody could relate to, right? Like everybody, like I mean, music was it was one of those things that entertainment. It brought people together. Forget about your
Mhm.
problems for a few hours. Let's just enjoy ourselves and rock it, so to speak.
I love that. And like music is full of energy, full of emotion, and people connect to it no matter what, whether it's happiness, sadness, frustration, it's
Yeah.
all there. That's pretty cool. I love that when that happens. And that you get responses, not only just you see the cat balls move, you get responses from equipment as you're doing it. That's the way to do it. I love that.
So how do you guys approach private residences and that type of situation?
You want to go with this one?
You can go ahead.
Okay. So what we do, like the people who reach out to us to do these things, we basically say like we make no promises. We can't promise you, and we do that for everywhere we go. I mean, because it's like, as you guys know, you guys have done enough of this. It's not like watching TV where you're just going to go within the first 2 minutes of the show, you're getting everything lit up like a Christmas tree. And it's just not the case. But we also explain our process that we go in there and like we said before, we introduce ourselves as if we're meeting them for the first time. Hi, I'm Steve. This is Victoria. This is Maria. We're here to say hello. We hope you welcome us into your home, your space. And we start a relationship from there. And even at the end of the investigation, we always thank them for having us there. But I mean, we don't try to push it. If we go there and say, and they clearly don't want to talk to us, we don't push the issue at all. But at the same time, the one thing that I think the residential people really appreciate that we do, we don't publish anything we do off residentials because that's their home, that's their life, that's their businesses, because we do a lot of commercial spaces as well, and it's for them to have. So what we do, just like we were talking earlier, we use Google Drive. We send them everything we recorded, and we keep it for like about 30 days, and then we get rid of it because it's not our information to keep. That's theirs, and we just wait for them to invite us back, and we always follow up. And
Yeah.
do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you got it.
It makes a lot of sense because it's their personal experiences.
It
it's
is.
fear sometimes. It's sometimes it's even pain because they're they struggle with it, and they struggle with the judgment of the outside world and all of that stuff. So the fear of that being released to anyone else.
Oh, for sure, it is, and in the end, like if they want to release it and do whatever, that's their business. But
Right.
I mean, we don't really. We leave it up to them. We're happy to do it. We don't charge either. We literally ask no money. This is basically like some people golf. We do this, right? This is family time for us, right? So I mean, but at the same time, I mean, what I was trying to say, we don't want to also overstay our welcome. So usually with these things, we go a couple hours,
Yeah.
like, and then okay, we're done, and like we just go from there because if we are not getting nothing, we don't want to waste people's time. If the spirits don't want to talk, we don't want to waste their time either. So it's very important for us that we kind of, I mean, if you go to your neighbor's house, are you going to stay for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours?
They're going to be like, go home.
Like
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah.
And we typically don't do it throughout overnight. We just do it in a little bit later in the evenings, especially after dark and things like that. And I think the biggest thing I could add to it is like, we don't really get into controversial topics. We don't touch politics. We don't touch religion. We don't touch money, right? Like, I mean, that's personal to everybody. And so we basically just try to get to know them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good. It's an intimate space. It makes
It
a lot
is.
of sense.
Completely agree.
It's a whole different dynamic from a large location. And even though it's that big of a difference, there are similarities though too. Like for instance, do you have like any kind of experience that has been fearful for you in a residence versus in a large location? Have you had any kind of experience like that where you've actually stepped into something where you knew that the family needed some more assistance than you could give them or could recommend for them, or you needed to step in?
I think we've been pretty lucky. I think all of our residentials have been really good and friendly and kind of warm, which I'm grateful for.
Knocking on
Exactly.
wood.
Right.
We do have a residential that we do frequently, and the family has become our good friends. And but one thing we did capture, I thought was super interesting. We've been there a few times. We know the spirits there. It's a grandfather, a mother, and a son. Well, two sons, I guess. But we did catch like an indigenous EVP.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
It's about a sentence. We're not sure what is said. We're working with some people to try and kind of figure out, decipher, I guess, what it is. But that was really interesting. That was a first for us, getting like it was a full sentence in another language.
Yeah, they're thinking it was a common. It was either
Algonquin,
Algonquin
Iroquois.
or Iroquois
Yeah.
tribes that this language is. They're still trying to figure out themselves, which is understandable because it's very clear.
Very, yeah.
But again, we don't know what time frame it's coming from, and just like the English language, just like any language, it evolves over time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just like the English language, and we're talking old English like Shakespeare. I'm lost, right? And if we're like nowadays, there's a lot of slang and things like that. So I mean, there's a lot to figure out. So hopefully we'll get a confirmed dialect, but fingers crossed.
Oh, and you better be sharing that
Oh, yeah.
privately or publicly, however you choose. But I would love to hear that.
We'll see what we can do.
So, what are the big name locations that you have investigated?
Well, SDG jail, we've done quite a few times. Mill of Kintail.
Yep.
It's kind of a big one up here.
Yeah, the Mill of Kintail is a very interesting place. It was the home of a sculptor named Mackenzie and his wife, who was a poet. It is also the museum for Dr. James Naismith, who was the inventor of basketball. So there's also spirit there that's a little bit more
aggressive,
we'll call it, by the name of Baird, who seems to be the kind of keeper of the place. That was an interesting couple of investigations we did there, as well as Edith herself. She's not. She's tolerant to people visiting there, but only to a certain extent, to the point where it's like, okay, and this is where respect comes in. And when you run events through and things like that, I mean, people are investigating for the first time, and they're kind of like
learning.
They're learning at the same time, but I mean, they're not really. There's some out there that just don't take it seriously enough. They'll come in and say, okay, what color is your favorite dinosaur, or something like that, or touching the artifacts in there and things like that. And it's not really. Would you go into somebody's house and start going through their stuff and asking silly questions like that?
She will tell you to get out.
Yeah, she definitely will tell you to get out.
What kind of woman?
Yeah, oh yeah. She has a certain confidence and air about her, but we try to be as polite as we can. And when she's done with us, and that's fine.
Yeah, because that's her home.
That's her home,
right?
And the sculptures they have there are absolutely amazing. Amazing wooden sculptures and stone and things like that. And that's another big one up here that we've done. I guess they're more well-known sites up here, like Station Theatre in Smith Falls, Ontario, which is an old rail station we've done quite a few times. What else do you think? Probably
Lost Villages we've done as a group.
Yeah, so Lost Villages we've done in a group setting, in which these villages are along the St. Lawrence River. So basically, when the U.S. and Canada built the dam in the 50s, they basically had to relocate everybody that were in those areas up away from the river, and those communities were all flooded into. So
they were, right? They would so everything would be intact in a way, not quite intact, but intact underwater.
Yeah, which is incredible, because there is some videos on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, where divers are down there and you can see the roads and everything like under the river, under the water.
And the graves are still, the people, the families who couldn't afford it, right? The graves are still there. They're
so there's people down there buried still to this day, right? The stones are moved, but again,
people are there.
people are there. And I think the other big one would probably be the windmill.
Oh yeah.
So
That's creepy.
yeah, the windmill is
Ooh,
the
share
site.
more. No.
Yeah, it's a site near Prescott, Ontario, which is just across the bridge from Ogdensburg, New York, and that site itself is near a fort called Fort Wellington, in which it was very instrumental for the British and the U.S. But a little bit more later, when there was a battle,
1838.
1838, there was a battle between American rebels trying to free Canada from the British. And there was a gentleman there by the name of Niels von Schultz.
Yeah.
But anyway, they basically fought this battle going across the frozen river. It's an incredible amount of history. Niels von Schultz was actually captured. I don't think there specifically, but he was actually executed in Fort Henry, which in Kingston. Speak of Kingston.
But it's a creepy location. It's a small little, I guess, park. It just literally has a windmill and like a small yard, but it is creepy.
Yeah, you had experience.
It is creepy. I actually stopped going there for a while because I wouldn't even get out of the car. It was just because I was doing like the Estes, and all you could feel was like fingers going down my back, and I'm like, and you could hear sticks and breaking. It's just weird.
There was a fair bit of residual energy
Yeah.
there as well, in which Vicky was getting through the Estes almost like a soldier, and he was talking to a woman, possibly a nurse, that was he was basically telling her, like, get out of here, like, just get away from here as quick as you can, type thing, but also that he was like wounded.
He was shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, he got hit in the shoulder. So I mean, there's a lot of energy there for sure. Like, pretty sure a lot of it is residual, but Vicky did have that experience there herself.
Yeah,
and and Maria too, as well, where you go down the stairs towards the beach and you could just feel a heaviness,
uncomfortable, like you're being watched, and it's just it's just weird. It's a bad feeling. Like I don't go there at night. won't even go near it. Because it creeped me out so bad, and it's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but you know that feeling where you're just like,
female survival response, like you feel that creepiness and that fear.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go back to that spot. That makes a lot of sense, especially if it's only affecting females.
Well, yeah,
this is right.
True.
This is right, and that's the one thing. Like, for me, I felt a heaviness, but that was the extent of it. That I was feeling. Like, I was like, all right, I feel something's there, but I wasn't feeling anything to the level that Vicky and Maria were feeling at all. Like, for me, like, I'm not as in tune as they are. Like, for the most part, like, I'm just not. I don't feel like I am. But at the same time, like, when you guys get uncomfortable, like, you can tell, okay, let cut the cord, let's go. Let's get out of here, right? So,
and it takes a lot for me to feel uncomfortable, because usually I'm all in, but when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a long way to tell you some of the locations.
That was great. And it also shows that you know your boundaries too. You know when to stop, when to go, when to respect a place, when to leave. That's all responsible paranormal investigators. A great. Something great to have as a group.
Yeah, we certainly try our best.
Yeah. In all of these locations that you've been to, is there anything that stands out aside from the creepiness, and that seems to be the one that affected you the most, but is there another, or that has
There definitely is one that creeped me out more. SDG jail. We just did that one in November-ish,
yeah. I
don't know if I will actually ever go back.
Oh, wow.
It had a major effect on me. We were there with a small group of other local teams, which are great. But I was definitely targeted that night. I had to step out a few times. I was in tears. That's never happened to me before, ever. I was getting a lot of pain. But like it wasn't my pain. I know it wasn't mine. It was the spirits. I was feeling theirs because I do pick up on their feelings and their emotions. And I was having a lot of chest pain and I was literally in tears. I was doing the Estes method and had some not nice things come over. What they were going to do. And you can imagine what they may have happened to women in prison back then. And I was done. It affected me for quite a while after the investigation at home. I think we possibly something could have come home with us. But I would say I didn't sleep for probably about 3 weeks after.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's probably the most intense.
It was the most intense. Yeah. Like I've never felt like that. I hope I never feel like that again. It was horrible.
But that's actually a risk that inexperienced investigators don't think about sometimes, is that the preparation and the leaving and what could follow and what to do if that happens, and that emotional experience. You if you're feeling it, you're feeling everything that they're feeling, and you're actually experiencing that trauma in the same way. And people don't realize that with sensitives, they like you're going through that experience, and you get that same trauma experience, and you have to work through it just like they did in your own way.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's like it's emotional toll on you. Like it really and we've gone to kind of off track here, but another quick location. We were just driving by. It's this old little cabin kind of where is it? North of
Brockville, Ontario.
North of
So it's
Brockville.
about an hour. It's about an hour from here.
Yeah, it's just a little cabin. Mother Barnes is her name, also known as the Witch of Plum Hollow. But I drove up there and we were literally parked in front. So I just wanted to get some pictures. It's a cute little log cabin, I want to get some pictures. And I literally instantly doubled over. My heart, I swear I was having a heart attack right in the car. And all I kept saying was, get me out of here. Get me out of here. That was weird. That was a weird
The big
experience.
thing is too, here we go, like pin it, get out of there. But the further you got away from it, the better you got.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was
Makes
just
total sense.
Right.
Yeah. But it was scary at first. It's like, okay, like what's going on? Okay, where's the closest hospital?
It was that type of.
It was that bad to the point. It's like, all right, like gas down, go, right? And the further you got away, you're getting your breath, you're catching your wind again.
Yeah. Well, then when we got to town, like an hour away, I'm like, all right, let's go shopping. Like I was fine.
It's
true though. It's how it happens.
Yeah.
It's true.
But that was probably the worst one. I would say I'm going to flip the mood a little bit. The happiest one, I would say, well, happy to a point, is a place called Station Theatre in Smith Falls, Ontario. And Station Theatre is one of those places now. It's like a community theater. People go to put on stage shows, to put on music, comedians, magicians, whatever. Back in the day, it was a train station, and it was a very centralized train station where everything going to Montreal, to Toronto, everything went through this area. So we went through this place a few times, and we absolutely loved this place. And we encountered a little spirit named Faye. And from what we understand, she was about 7 years old. And to make a long story short, basically, it was one of those things where we built that relation, that trust with her. And we asked her, hey, can we bring you anything? Kind of like we did with Delta, where we bring back the music. And she said a doll. It's like, all right. So we went and picked her up a doll. We brought the doll there, and that doll now has a space in the wardrobe room for Faye. And she does reference it when we try to contact her every time we go back there.
Oh, wow.
And everybody in the theater knows not to touch the doll. It's Faye.
That's Faye's doll, right? So, I mean, like it's it's kind of a catch-22. Is like, what happened to this poor child? Like, she's 7 years old. Like, she should have lived a full life. But maybe it's a case where you go back to your happiest time after who knows, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we gave her a little bit of happiness and a little bit of a smile just by picking up a doll and bringing it to her, hey, Awesome. We'll do it 100 times. All good. Right. So that's
Awesome.
flip it back to the positive side. We'll go.
Well, you spoke of two places, Smiths Falls,
Yeah.
Ontario, but you've also visited in Smiths Falls Heritage House. And then you also mentioned SDG Jail. These are tongue twisters that
It is.
Canada's full of tongue twisters. So the we have some clips. I don't know if you wanted to talk about some of the clips that we have to share, and maybe start with the SDG Jail.
Yeah, so I think I know the clip. We were in general population. It's kind of the newer section, but it was very active. We did a couple. I think it was where we encountered a specific spirit named Peter. That was my interesting night. Peter was the one that I was in contact with all night. So
Okay.
it was interesting.
All right. Do we want to take a
Yeah,
look at that? Okay.
let's do it.
We're just here to speak with you and to get to know you and a little bit of your story. What's your name? What's your name?
You can hear the decibels in that.
Yeah.
So that's Peter Belcombe. That's his last name. He was actually the last prisoner to be executed at SDG jail in the 50s, I believe. But yeah, he was an active spirit that night.
That's right. I love that you have like the multiple locations on this video and of the camera shots. And I noticed like on the, I think it was the second one down. So I don't know if you had another set of people walking around those locations, but I saw a flash of light quickly, like a quick flash of light in the second camera down. I just noticed that now.
No,
So
because everybody was up with us.
Everybody was up.
Everybody was up with us
So
in that location.
we should.
We're just here to speak with you.
So that second camera down. Oh, maybe it's her shadow.
Is that okay?
Back comes forward. I thought I saw a flash, but maybe let's see if it happens again. It may have been her shadow coming into the light and out of the light. Pun not intended.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah. Okay.
The only one thing we should add, like we weren't the only group there. Like Restless Spirits were there, Lost Soul Paranormal. Who else am I missing? That was it. And then a gentleman named Elliot from Phantoms of Yore was there with us, giving us a hand. So we have everybody to thank for all those different camera views.
Yeah, they're great.
And we have to give them their respect and their due because they were very good with helping, like with the investigation with us.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
And of course, the going through the evidence part. That's
yeah, everybody, and that's the thing with that. Everybody, there were so many cameras running. There was so much to review.
Yeah.
So much to review. It was incredible. And how many hours were we there?
Oh, like 8?
8 hours.
We were about there for about 8 hours.
Yeah. So it was a long night.
Yeah.
That's sure.
Not just 8 hours of investigation, right? That's 8 hours of one camera or camera setup and audio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another 8. So yeah. It adds up.
It's not a sit down and get her, rock it out in 2 hours type of job. Like it takes quite some time for sure.
So, okay. So we've got SDG jail. Also, one thing I did notice is you went live on Facebook for that. Do you do that regularly?
No, actually.
Really?
Yeah, no, that was the only one.
That was the only one we did. Yeah.
Because a lot of the places we go to, we put together our, I guess, evidence that we caught, and we forward it to them to get approval to release. We never release anything without approval from the location. Usually it's the board, if it's a museum, whatever, curator. And then if they give us permission, then we will release it.
Now, it's rare that they'll say no, but
Yeah.
we've done a couple of investigations at a couple of different sites we haven't mentioned up to this point, in which we had to cut out certain pieces because certain names were brought up and some of their family still lived in the area. And they're not quite sure that they would be comfortable if we just threw that out there. And we get that. Like, we totally get it. And that's one of the reasons why people are trusting us when we do this, because you guys are getting everything we're getting. If you want to cut it out, no problem. If you want to cut everything out, no problem. Look, it's all good. Everybody has to be comfortable with it. But at the same time, like, you know, like we don't push it. If that makes sense, like we just like whatever you're comfortable with, great.
Now the jail, I mean, it is.
That's the only thing really that goes on
that's
there.
a regular thing for the jail, but a lot of places we go to, it's not. It's a lot of times it's like they're new to it or whatever.
Especially local museums, especially smaller museums in which there are smaller towns. We do a lot of museums as well. And the one thing we try to do is, like, I mean, they welcome us in there. We don't charge, but we always make sure we give them a donation for just allowing us to even come in there. Because, like, let's be honest, I'm sure it's no different in the States, that a lot of these museums, I mean, they're operating by volunteers for the most part. And I'm not sure how it is in the States, but in Canada, they don't get a lot of money from the government. So a lot of their revenue that's generated are from events and things like that. So, I mean, if we can throw in a couple $100 just for allowing us to come out for 3 or 4 hours, then happy to do so, because again, it goes back to the history, right? It's all for a good cause.
Yeah.
It does look like you guys do a lot of collaborations, though, in your community.
We do.
Yeah, it's
certain
ones we do. There is a lot of Phantoms of Yore. I'll give them their due. They do a lot of events in which we help out with. They're kind of the guys that originally that we learn from. So when we do things like that, we kind of just go under their banner for that. So we have helped out in quite a few of those. Do you want to add anything on?
Well, we do have a few teams that we do collab with. But yeah, I think it just depends on the location, because a lot of locations don't want a lot of people in there at the same time, you know, like, because they have their curators or whatever that'll come with us, right? And so I think it really depends on location.
It really does. And the big thing is, as well, is like, we're not set up to hook up a pile of cameras in every room. We're a very small operation, so to speak. And we keep that purposely for, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it intimacy of the investigation, whatever, because we do more residentials than we do anything, right? And a lot of these places, like the smaller museums that we're talking about, and the smaller commercial sites, such as like the theater and things like that, they're not as big as you might think, right? They're very small places. So, I mean, there's not a lot of equipment to go around, I guess you could say.
And and I mean, if there's a lot of people, I mean, a lot of times it's less.
Yeah, like we did
for what we experienced.
Yeah,
anyway.
like we won't mention which place, but I mean, there is one, and God love them. They just wanted to see what it was all about and stuff like that. But I mean, we did this one location in which, my gosh, there had to be 15 people. Yeah, there had to have been at least 15 people that came out just to see what we do. And while we're trying to do our thing, and where there's Estes or call and response or whatever, everybody's having a conversation in the background, right?
And it takes away from what we're trying to do,
right? And you know what? It's no harm at fault.
No, of course,
all good. But I mean, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, like this might be a quiet night, and that's fine. But anytime somebody does ask us to come out, like we've done a lot of presentations, actually, like a lot of presentations. There's some historical societies, as well as some local businesses that bring us out there. Like, I mean, like towns as well, town of Prescott in Ontario. They brought us out there to do an investigation and do a presentation for the people when they came out. So we didn't really record it. It was basically a presentation for the people that were there. So that's probably why you're not seeing a lot of that stuff on Facebook, so to speak. But we do what we can. That's the biggest thing I can say is we really do what we can.
Well, it seems like you do, and you might not think your social media shows a lot, but you do. You're pretty active, and that's awesome. And seeing that you do work with other teams, whether it's a lot of collaborations or not, it shows that willingness to work together and to help support each other, which
absolutely.
is really important these days in the paranormal world. So
Yes,
it's nice to see. It's really nice to see. It's how it should be.
Yeah, honestly, it's when we're asked to collab, when we asked to collab with other people or we invite people out. I mean, it's always good.
Yeah,
that's what I got. Like, I mean, 90% of the groups know each other around here, and we're all highly supportive of each other. Yeah. Like, everybody has their own way of doing business and stuff like that, and that's great. It makes it more interesting, that's for sure. But you know what? We try to avoid what we call the paranormal drama, so to speak, of claiming territories and things like that. Because
and we do have that up here too.
We got that up here too, that's for sure. But
Canada's so perfect. Everybody's nice in Canada.
It's his own soap opera, that's for sure. And we just try to steer clear of it as best we can.
I get it. We get it. To go back to your other remark about too many people in a location, I'm not going to say which location, but we were in a theater and we were down in a lower basement, and you could hear the people having a conversation in the actual theater itself. So there is a lot of cross contamination when you have larger groups, and if they're noisier or not noisy versus not noisy.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we try to, the biggest thing we try to do, especially with the smaller places, the one thing I should have said when we were doing the smaller commercial spaces and the residentials, we try to get them involved and to participate. Yeah. Right. So now we do have cases where we'll go to one and they'll have some of their own equipment. They'll have a K2 meter and they're literally waving it everywhere, just waiting for something to hit. Right. But we do our best to educate as much as we can. But you know what? Like, if they enjoy themselves, that's great. But we just try to explain up front. It's like, hey, like when we do these things, we try to. What's the best way to say it? But we try to kind of stay silent to see what we can pick up, and we do explain the sensitivity of the mics and stuff like that. So we do our best to educate, but sometimes.
The excitement,
the excitement, and in the end, people are people, right? And it is what it is.
Yeah, and they'll take anything. You could give them the smallest noise, and they are happy.
Oh,
I love that early on, that excitement you had when you first investigated. That's just great.
Yeah, like people are going crazy with the phones and the flashes, and every spot they come up with, and every orb is a spirit, right? Like, I mean, and you know what? If you're enjoying yourself, awesome. Exactly. Right? Like, I mean, but you know what? I think the big thing we try to teach them is, look at it logically and try to debunk what you can before, you just jump into saying, okay, that's definitely it.
Yeah.
And, but that comes in time and practice and experience and it's all good. It's just
ongoing learning.
It's ongoing learning, right? But I mean, just to see them excited about doing these things, that's a reward in its own right.
Right. That's awesome.
Because most of our investigations, we aren't really alone ever. Like, there's usually either homeowners or curators with us.
But they're enthusiastic.
They're very much,
They're very much enthusiastic, and we have had a couple of spaces that we've gone to where total skeptics. But and you know what? It's good to be skeptic at the beginning, right? Because I mean, you're just going to look at everything logically, but by the end of those nights, I'm not going to say they're full believers, but they're a heck of a lot more open than they were when they begin.
Right. Throw a medium in the mix.
That's the party.
Love it.
Okay, I want to see. Do we have that footage for the Estes and Heritage House? Were you able to pull it up through the?
No.
Aw, okay. I really wanted to see that. I love that if you want to talk a little bit about that investigation and that double S's that you did in Heritage House, and of course talk about that. Like, I think that one part is hilarious. So if you You can get it on you can everybody you can see it on their Facebook page. But if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, so we were there with Phantoms of Yore, Eric and Elliot, and me and Eric were both doing the Estes, and me and our daughter Maria were in the smoking room, so the man's room. Women were not allowed in there; they were only allowed in there to clean. So I was getting on the Estes. I was kind of like the females, and like, are you here to clean? And of course, my daughter is like, I'm not here to clean or whatever. She's like, I'm not cleaning.
No, wait. I am definitely not here to clean. That was
but it was good, and we were trying to find out more information on these 3 kids that passed away. Nobody can find records for them, so we were trying to really get more information on that. And but there was definitely some funny little twists in that one.
Yeah, and but you were both getting responses at the same time to these questions, especially the part about the being sick, the children being sick and having the bumps.
Yes, because I was getting fever and small bumps, and Eric was getting some things too, and like sick, like I couldn't heal her, and like they died or she died. And
it's very validating when you have 2 people doing Estes and you're getting the same subject matter come up from each person, right?
Yeah.
It might be the same words.
That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, like that's your go-to.
That's my
go-to.
That's
your baby. That's your baby. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, it turned out really great in that investigation, because just seeing the consistent responses between the 2, the 2 investigators, you and who was the other from the other team?
Eric. Yeah.
Eric. Okay. Yeah. Seeing the two responses from both of you, it was pretty cool. I like that's ideal Estes. That's like the best. That's the best response you could hope for.
Yeah, because I'm always like taking my headphones off. I'm like, what happened? Like, you don't know really what. Like, I mean, you know what you're saying, but. And it's always, it's good to watch back, and you're like, oh, like this, like we made progress here.
Yeah, when you get responses from a person doing Estes, I mean, like if you're getting intelligent responses, that's fantastic, but you can debunk a little bit more. But when you got 2 people coming up with the same subject matter and they're all intelligent to what you're asking, you can't beat that stuff.
No.
I mean, like you can't beat that stuff at all. That's
we were lucky.
That's the best. Yeah.
Spirits were being kind to you that night.
They were.
They were. Yeah, for sure. And that's another place that has a very interesting, a very, very, very. If you don't mind, I'll give you a minute on this one. Heritage House. It was built. Gentleman, what was his name again? I'm sorry. It was a gentleman who was building. He was investing in a railroad. Again, Smith Falls, big railroad town, to link 2 different communities, but he went bankrupt.
Oh, Ward.
Was Ward. It was Ward. And Bates, I think it was. Yeah. And the thing is, he had another rival in that town, right? And I can't like Bates was, I think it was Bates and Ward. It was the 2 people. Yeah. So the gentleman passed away who had that place built, and he accumulated so much debt, and this is just from what we understand, that his family had to sell off that estate to basically pay his debt. Who do you think bought that house?
The rival.
The rival. Yeah. So there's a lot of history. Now that place has had, again, a pile of different uses, and it's restored now, beautifully restored to as closest to the original state as it can. But it's the stories behind those places is amazing, and there is a little bit of comedy too with the bathroom there. It's a 2-level bathroom.
Oh,
where it's literally not kidding. There's literally a bathroom under it and one right above it.
Basically, it looks like outhouses.
It looks like outhouses, but one is stacked on top of the other.
That seems really dangerous.
I gotta get a picture the next time we're in there and send it to you guys, because it's like, I don't even want to know how that's supposed to work, but I'm going upstairs.
So many things can go wrong.
but just it's an amazing space, and the volunteers and the workers there are just a beautiful bunch of people, and it's an amazing spot with an amazing history, and it's another one that we love to frequent when we can, we'll say.
That's awesome. That's nice. Do you have any upcoming investigations that you're about to go on or you're excited about?
Well, we're returning to the residential one with the Indigenous voice soon, so we're really excited about seeing if we can get more on that. We're concentrating mostly on like residentials right now.
Yeah, we'll definitely be heading back to Station Theater for sure. In March, we're doing probably another one in Delta as well, but the residentials are coming fast and furious right now. And to be honest with you, it's not like last year about this time going into May, we were literally going every single weekend. It was
from March to November, and every weekend, and then through the week as well, we were doing stuff.
Yeah, but now like we're like, I mean, again, this is a labor of love. We don't make a living doing this. So with both of our work, and then Maria's in college, so I mean, she's got work. We're learning how to space these out a little bit. So like we do have some that are coming in, that are coming to fruition more towards the summer. Just so we can get the actual time to do it and just plan it properly rather than shotgun everything. But there's a lot of residentials coming in there, Station Theater as well. Delta for sure will be coming. And then hopefully
some new locations
we're in the works for, but we don't have anything finalized yet. So we just want to, keep it on the down low, so to speak, until it's all finalized.
Oh, that's totally fine. We get it. Hey, and if these are new locations that haven't been investigated yet and they want to jump on and do a podcast, let them know. We look for new locations and bring them on and promote them.
Absolutely.
One thing you sparked my interest because you said you have a lot of residential locations coming up. Do you notice so that certain areas have a lot more activity, like so certain towns or block radius or like certain parts of the the area that's around you that you investigate?
Honestly, I find a lot along the St. Lawrence River tends to be really, really active. We really do. I mean, that area itself, I mean, it was the first place like Canada was that was settled that way. It's a big transportation route, still is to this day as well.
I would say
there's a lot of history there. I mean, we're talking
a lot of old houses,
a lot of old houses, old places. I mean, even the SDG jail, as we just talked about, is right along the river. And I mean, literally, you can look across and there's New York right there. So I mean, we don't know what energies are coming back and forth and stuff like that. But a lot of places along the St. Lawrence River tend to be the highest activity for sure.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And like railroad tracks, rivers, running water, that has a lot to do. That makes a lot of sense.
For sure. And there's you'll never be bored. Let's just say that. Like it's
there's always somewhere to go.
There's always somewhere to go. Now, mind you, we do.
As paranormal investigators, you pick the perfect place to live. Because you're always busy.
Honestly, like we say that all the time because there's places we go to like in every direction. So we find we're very centralized where we are. I mean, it couldn't have.
Kingston's only like an hour from us, and you got Ottawa right there.
And then SDG jail, that's towards Cornwall. But I mean, like not that we'll go back there again. But I mean, there's a lot of
the same corridor.
There's a lot of history down that way too. So I mean, like we're literally 30 minutes from Ogdensburg, New York, right? So I mean, like everything along the St. Lawrence River, I mean, is within arm's reach. So I mean, we're very fortunate, very blessed, very lucky, however you want to put it. No complaints, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Is there any advice that you would maybe give to anybody going out and just starting out in the paranormal world? I mean, you've had a lot of experience with people just starting out, but if say they have a little experience and they're going out as a team for the first time, do you have any recommendations, any thoughts, and any thoughts on, should they include a medium? Do you find that it's easier with a medium, or how they should handle that experience?
I say yes to the medium for sure.
If you can get a medium or a sensitive or something with those gifts, I mean, you honestly, you wouldn't turn it away, right? Like for sure. I think the biggest piece of advice I could give for anybody starting out new is take your time and find what works for you.
Yeah.
But also be respectful. Be respectful. I can't even preach that enough. Don't go in there guns a-blazing, just doing stuff to get a reaction. Go in and respect the spirits. They were people too. And they're still people in a sense. They're just in a different form. Right? I mean, you know, be respectful, work together, work as a team, get on the same
Patience.
page. Patience is huge.
Oh yes.
Right? But I mean, you know, that's the biggest things I'll do,
I would
unless you
say
want to add
too.
to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the biggest things we could tell you.
How has your daughter been dealing with, you know, the investigations? Does she handle them well? Was it a time, like, was there a time of adjustment, and your abilities too? Like, you
Yeah,
know,
when we first started, I would say certain locations, like honestly, like really kicked her butt. Like she was
Drained.
Sometimes she was literally like couldn't get out of bed for a couple days. Like she was just butt kicked. I think
She learned to close that door.
she kind of learned to close it when she needed to, and because she really, I think, needed to kind of put up that wall for certain places. So she knows when she's at a place where it's comfortable, it's happy, she's fine. But if she's in some place like the jail or whatever, she definitely puts up her blockers now, because it was hard transition, I think, for her when we started as well.
yeah.
Yeah, and myself, I'm kind of, I definitely, I'm trying to learn to, especially after the whole jail incident, definitely kind of like put up the boundaries. Still learning the boundaries, however, but
You're
it's
always
a
going to learn the
process.
boundaries. Yes.
Right?
It's just
I
like
feel
with
like
any
all
human.
investigators end up encountering a point
Yeah.
where they overexceed themselves and have to learn from it.
Yeah, you learn your limitations.
Yeah,
right?
and
Yeah.
I definitely learned them, because that was really my first one with I would say really bad experience that kind of affected me
Between
for
that and
so
the
long.
windmill. Between that and the
Yeah,
windmill.
so I definitely, I think, got a reality check. Really.
Yeah, every investigator has that experience. You have to be like, so that you can understand that, especially if you feel a lot more when you're on an investigation.
Oh, for sure.
So, JD, did you want to add anything before we?
Not anything I can think of right now, no.
Okay. So is there anything, so we know that you have your Facebook page. Is there any other location, social media wise, or website or anything, or is it mainly through your Facebook page people can reach out to you?
Yeah, mainly through Facebook. We do have YouTube. We haven't done much with it lately. But yeah, usually Facebook. Anybody wants to reach out, even just to chat, we're good. Just send a message, whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
the reason why we're kind of shifting more towards to Facebook is because we're not really. Before we just used to post 4 hours of an investigation. So now we're kind of getting a little bit more selective of what we post. We don't want people sitting there for 4 hours and just watching nothing happen and you get 2 minutes of activity.
But
So
it
what
gives
we
them the real experience. But
That's
it's not
true,
going to
right?
keep
that
them
is
on
true.
social media.
That is true.
Accurate.
That is accurate. Can't argue with that one. But the big thing, what we try to do is we basically try to cut it to about basically a 30-minute best of during a journey investigation. And that's typically what, like, usually when people ask us that, we send them everything, but we also send them like a 30, 45-minute, whatever video of what we cut. And we typically just post the 30 to 45-minute one for everybody. I mean, even looking at our metrics on Facebook, like you can tell when people are losing their attention pretty quick. So we kind of we're still working on finding that perfect mix. It's not to say we're not going to put the full things up on Facebook.
Yeah.
We will, should I say? But anything on Facebook is usually like a very quick
Clip it.
clip it or a quick video where people can sit there in a half an hour, have their coffee, and then they're off. And that typically is what gives us the most reactions, to be honest with you, more than anything, I would say. But again, like, I mean, we're still learning, right? So, I mean, we haven't gotten into the TikTok world or the Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week.
I don't even know how to use it. Just
Yeah,
saying.
you know, but I mean, we kind of try to stick to what works for us. And right now, I guess the best thing for us is Facebook right now.
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get into X.
Yeah.
No, it's every time I look at it, it's like, I'm good.
That can be addicting.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been so much fun.
No, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. We really, really appreciate you guys reaching out. And if you guys need anything at all, just let us know. And if you're ever up north, don't recommend this time of year what we got found outside, but I mean,
hey, we're feeling it too over here. We're all feeling it, but not as bad as you, for sure. Not as bad as you. I'm in my big hood.
No.
Walking. Let's go investigate.
Yeah.
I've done it outside where I'm
right.
Yeah.
What's that EVP? Oh, that's Irene's teeth chattering. Forget it. That's debunked.
Lots of clothes, wear your layers, dress up warm, and have fun.
So, to our actual outro here. So, thanks everyone for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you were able to learn something new during this video. We will be hosting another podcast interview next Sunday at 8 p.m. So keep an eye out for our upcoming guest. Also, make sure to follow us on social media accounts as we will be posting updates on our content production projects. This year, we will be expanding our reach and impact in the paranormal community, so keep making sure to stay updated. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.